Well, if you'll roll, give me a high sign and
At
we'll...
least it's not a large stack.
Okay.
I don't know what's...
Today is January 15th in the year 2015. Happy New Year, everybody. Calling to order this special meeting of the Montara Water and Sanitary District Board of Directors at 7:35. We have a roll call, please.
Director Slater-Carter.
Present.
Director Harvey.
Here.
Director Boyd.
Here.
Director Wilson.
Here.
Director Huber.
Here.
All right, President's statement. Let me observe we had a terrific December in terms of rain. We had a very dry January. We're about halfway to a normal year from the December rain, but for the time being, our community is one of the best when it comes to conserving water and using it wisely, and it'd be good to keep doing that as we track how things are going this year. So it's a great start, but until it comes all the way in, we won't know our full water year results for a bit yet. So that's what I've got. Do we have any oral comments from anyone on items other than those on the agenda? Seeing none. Public hearing. We've got two items for the public hearing. Review and possible action concerning establishment of Prop 218 limits for solid waste disposal fee increase, and the other one, we'll do the first one first, and then the second one will be the review and possible action concerning adoption of a revised master fee schedule.
So first, the review and possible action concerning establishment of Prop 218 limits for solid waste disposal fee. Last we went through this was October 2013. That is when we actually engaged into a new franchise agreement with Recology of the Coast. That franchise agreement provided essentially a formula that we agreed essentially to annual rate increases according to a formula. We presented the formula and the calculations at the November meeting, and the formula results in a 1.77% rate increase over the 2014 rates. The formula itself looks at cost of living increases, other cost increases, tipping fee increases, things like that. So cost of operation mainly. We mailed notices on November 6, 2014 to all 1728 property owners and customers in Montara and Moss Beach, notifying them about the planned rate increase for January 1, 2015. At the preparation of this agenda, we counted a total of 1 written protest that we've received since. We will have a full final count made at the end of the public hearing. We might receive more from the public. So the purpose of this meeting is to formally count the number of written protests received. If written protests are submitted against the proposed fees or against a particular fee by the owners of the majority of the parcels, the fees or fee will not become effective. So the recommendation is to open the public hearing, allow relevant testimony, close the public hearing, and count all allowable Prop 218 protests received. Determine whether or not the proposed rate limit should be approved in accordance with Prop 218. Adopt ordinance of the Montara Water and Sanitary District establishing maximum rates for the collection, removal, and disposal of refuse and for recycling services. So let's...
The counting?
I think you want to open up first
okay,
the public hearing.
The public hearing is now open. And let's see,
So,
do we have any testimony from anyone on this matter? Seeing no testimony, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Dwight got it by an inch, or by a micron, sorry. Catherine and Dwight. It's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Vote 5-0, the public hearing is closed. Now we shall count all the allowable Prop 218 protests received.
okay, so we have one clear protest letter, one that initially protested and then retracted the protest. I suggest that we bring this up to a total of 2 protests.
So 2 would be well below the threshold of half of the affected members of our community. So that does not reach that limit. So with that, we are prepared, if we have a motion, this would be, so this would be a resolution.
No, an ordinance.
Pardon me, an ordinance.
So I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance. Next in order, Montara Water Sanitary District establishing maximum rates for the collection, removal, and disposal of refuse and for recycling services.
Second.
Okay. Jim moving, Catherine seconding to approve the ordinance as written in the packet. Do we have any discussion?
Do we even have to vote on this? Isn't it pretty much automatic with their contract with Recology that this goes into effect?
No, this ordinance has to be adopted in order for that to be adopted.
Okay, and if we didn't do that, what would be the ramifications of that?
It wouldn't go into effect. And Recology would be very upset with us.
This is one of those things where we try to make sure we have all of our ducks in a row so it all happens together. But it takes the individual actions to complete the process.
Before we vote, I'd like to make a few comments.
But just before, I just want to make sure, did you get all your questions out?
Well, just that we have a contract with Recology that calls for these increases, right?
Maybe we should postpone this vote until Dave's here, because Dave can't answer that question.
Well,
To make
Look,
this rate increase effective.
it depends on Bill's concern. I mean, if it's just a question of the mechanics and what happens, yes, we take these as individual actions. But they're intended as a collection, and if we wind up some yes, some no, then it's up to us to resolve that because we can't let that kind of thing stand.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not like I'm in favor, I'm not in favor of this.
Right.
It's just, I don't even know why we have to vote on it if it's already,
It's in a contract, but it's an ordinance
No, no.
that establishes our rates. So to change the ordinance, we need to vote.
To be able to change the rates as a public agency, we have to
Okay.
go through a Prop 218
Okay.
process.
okay.
The Prop 218 process requires that we establish a
Okay.
Prop 218 limit by ordinance. So the answer that Dave is going to give you is, yes, you will have to vote in this ordinance,
Okay.
otherwise the rate increase will not be in effect.
As part of the 218.
Okay, so it's 218, okay, got it.
That's-
It's been moved and seconded, and I think on this one, if you're satisfied
Yeah.
with your answer.
Yeah.
Catherine?
I just want to make sure, since Chris is here, that the concerns I have or have heard is about getting information out to the public about how, I had seen on Nextdoor Montara a question about Christmas tree pickup,
Yeah,
for
saw that one too.
instance. And some months ago, I was going crazy since some of my neighbors had their green waste cans out and some didn't. I didn't know whether I should put mine out or not. And so I went to the website and I found last year's green waste scheduled pickup, but not this year's. And so I was still confused. And it turned out half of us were wrong. We didn't need to go to the effort of putting our cans up in our driveways. So I'd like to make sure that information is easily, that may be great here, but is it on the website? Is it going to go out to all of the customers?
It's on the website and we have a new widget and all you have to do is go on the front page and type in your address and it brings up the calendar and exactly when your pickup days are.
Oh, really?
for recycling.
That's so nice.
Wow.
Instead of having to go, am I blue or yellow?
Right, you can
Yeah.
actually pull it up just by your address.
So that's on the front page of the website.
Right,
Okay.
the homepage.
Okay, and then people can get answers. One of the things I would like to see is, maybe you could, and I can send you the information, get onto Nextdoor Montara and Nextdoor Moss Beach and just post when there's going to be a major waste pickup or,
You can't get on that unless,
yes, you can.
I thought you had to be,
Oh, you're a part of the community.
right.
We'll invite you.
Thank you.
I will invite you. I will
Thank you.
make sure we
Select
get
the
you
next
there.
one, Montara.
Because I think
Yes,
it would
must
be it would be very, very useful for our folks. And I think you could even get on to next door El Granada. I mean, their schedule is different than ours, and so we need to make sure that people understand that Granada doesn't have the same schedule, or we're gonna get people who are upset. But, you know, I don't think people are aware that you can still, that you will pick up Christmas trees until December, or January 31, for instance.
Well, we'll pick them up anytime, but it's free until January.
Right, right. So that was just my comment, was you guys have been doing a great job. I haven't heard any complaints, but I have experienced some problems personally and some questions about the website, so it would be nice to get you more linked into the community.
So, and Chris just held this up. This is in today's mail in Montara and Moss Beach. So, you should come home, and if Ed picked up the mail, you should have it.
If Ed picked up the mail, he will put it in a pile somewhere. That's why I use the internet.
That's what
I want to make a comment that the drivers are, we've known our drivers for a long time, and they're very courteous. We've got the same people. They do a great job. That they drive very carefully, and I leave in the morning when they're out there, and you know, they're very cautious and courteous. I really appreciate that. I think we have good service, and we still have, I think, the lowest rates on the coast side, and so, you know, I think we're really fortunate here for the service we get from them. Ecology.
I have one minor comment. The one area I think you could do a better job on is the direct billing. It's not user-friendly in my opinion. I've seen a lot easier ones. And in particularly if they all of a sudden don't recognize your checking account number, and trying to get it resolved on your website is a real pain. So anything you do to bring it up to the 21st century, I think would be. I don't know if you had other comments about it, but I've almost had to go to direct payment because I can't get your automatic payment system.
We just had an update on the whole system because of.
So it wasn't because I'm old and I have problems.
No, I'm probably older than you. The whole website's been revamped because of fraud and all the alerts that have gone off, so give it another try.
Okay.
And we're a captive audience between 7:30 and whatever time every day. Give us a call and give us your feedback. 355-9000.
Well, I'll try again and hopefully I won't have to call for something. Thanks.
What? Let us know if you thought it worked out better.
Okay, I'll do it. 'Cause it's
Okay,
been-
thank you.
It's been a relatively.
Okay.
We, in our case, we're being old. We don't even attempt to use that. We just write a check and mail it in.
Well, some of us think that we're young, even though we're not. That's why.
So what was the story on Christmas trees? I looked on the website. I looked very carefully. I couldn't find anything about Christmas trees. So
See the regular flyer in the brochure.
There's one on the website.
I'm not sure I could.
It's right on the front page,
On the
flyer,
brochure, yes.
brochure.
Okay.
And it's also.
I now have that. I now have that hanging inside a cabinet door in my kitchen. But on the day that I was looking, I spent, because I thought I should be able to find this and answer this question. I looked, and then I looked some more, and then I looked some more, and I didn't know there was a brochure because I'm not the one who picks up the mail in my house.
See?
It was also in our notification letter, by the way. It was noted.
And again, I don't pick up the mail in my house.
The problem
I'm not
with
faulting.
mail is-
I'm glad for that extra mechanism, but the one that I thought it'll be.
Well
I could
done.
have sworn I'd seen it previously, and so I knew I could just go find it. And I looked and looked and looked. But I did get to explore all the new stuff on the website, so I knew about the pickup calendar. Right. But,
Well, I will say you might want to talk to your web guy because it is not tablet, your website is not tablet friendly.
oh,
Not a tablet friendly.
I can,
You know, I haven't tried that on my tablet to tell you the truth. I'll have to
yeah, well,
Okay.
One of these and see what blows it up.
oh, wow, it really,
You know what?
Oh,
I'll-
it may
I'll
use
do
slide.
that. I haven't tried.
all right.
so please make it tablet and phone friendly because a lot of times we have those questions
Okay.
when we're not at our desk.
So,
I
Mm.
will say that out of all the recologies, that Recology of the Coast has the most e-bill payments of anybody. And I said, it's
Interesting.
because all the smart people.
no, that's probably true.
That's true.
Or,
What does that mean for me?
it's like,
You're one of the smart people.
at least you know you want to. See, that's good. All right.
Okay, I have one comment and then a question. The comment is that the new containers, maybe it's not so new anymore, but the blue and the gray containers, I found to be extremely easy to use, and I've also found that they seem to be, and I don't know, maybe it's because I put a spring clamp on it, which is very easy to do with those. They seem to be pretty raccoon-proof, which is, in our neighborhood, was a big deal. And then just at least personally, I'm very happy about that change. I think that's just great. Okay, the other just question is that between now and January 31st, you put a Christmas tree out and it gets picked up. Is that basically the gist of it? Okay.
Does it have to be a certain length? Do you have to cut it if it's too long?
If it's over 5 feet tall, we, try to cut some of it off, but you guys are pretty good. You've had the same guys for
Yeah. Well, I
20
mean,
years.
they're throwing it back in the back of the greenways truck, right? I mean, with Christmas trees, generally they're just putting it in the back with all the other green waste. So it's just a garbage truck, so it just has to fit in the back. I know in Pacifica,
just
I heard
the
people
hand-
saying, "Oh, you can, you have to cut it in half." And
No.
I've seen these cut in half Christmas trees sitting on the curb in Pacifica, and I'm like, that might be more than you have to do. Okay, so good. Well, we've got a motion. Any further questions, comments, props, or complaints? No. All right. It's an ordinance, but just for fun, let's do a roll call vote.
Director Slater Carter,
Aye.
Director Harvey,
Aye.
Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Wilson,
Aye.
Director Huber.
Aye.
Okay, the ordinance is adopted with a vote of 5-0. Item 2 in our public hearing, review and possible action concerning adoption of a revised master fee schedule.
So to now make these rates effective, so we established a Prop 218 limit on the solid waste side. We essentially implement the Prop 218 limit. That's different from our water and sewer rates, where we establish a Prop 218 limit and then use that over multiple years and approach the Prop 218 limit. Here we are simply applying that limit, and we would like to see this now in our master fee schedule, and that is what essentially makes it makes these rates active, and that is by January 1. So the recommendation is to open the public hearing, consider relevant public testimony, close the public hearing, and then adopt the ordinance of the Montara Water and Sanitary District, restating and amending the master fee schedule. The entire fees are stated in this master fee schedule. Only the solid waste disposal fees have been revised accordingly.
Okay. So the public hearing is now open. Do we have any public testimony about the master fee schedule? Seeing none, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so at this point, any discussion on the master fee schedule? I'll pitch in that I'm pleased. This district works very hard to keep rates down and to make adjustments that lead to a 218 hearing as few and far between as we can. And I think we've done a really good job, and I'd like to compliment Clemens especially for doing things through, we're coming out of a long period of economic difficulty, and so there have been a lot of things that have really been put on the back burner to try to keep costs down and keep, back in 2009, 10, 11, trying to keep those rates from really doing anything to the folks who are having a really rough go of getting through it. And while we're not all the way back as an economy overall, I mean, a lot of folks are doing well, but there's still a lot of folks who aren't. It'd be tempting to catch up all at once, and that would be really tough on the segment of folks who really are still trying to get work. So I'm glad that we as an agency are able to have very modest increases and continue to carefully juggle where we're putting our money so that we don't have to come in with these really big requests like we're seeing at other agencies around the state.
I will also add that this agency has made a decision to keep our franchise fees very low. And it is a hidden tax that some municipalities and other agencies slip into their fees and service fees, because ours is 2%, as I recall. I have seen other communities as high as 12%, 14%, I believe.
30%.
Or 30%. So one of the ways we keep our bills, our trash and recycling bills accountable is by only adding as our franchise fee what our administrative costs are. And so it is only 2%, and one of the reasons it's only 2% is because people pay their bills on time, they pay electronic bills, we don't have to spend a lot of legal time on these same issues. So it is the community also working with this district that helps keep our rates and service fees low.
Okay. Anyone else? So just for the members of the public, it may sound a little dry, but every fee that this district charges is listed in this master fee schedule. So if you'd like to understand how the money comes into the district, it's this one document that lets you see basically the sources of what comes in. There is one other source of revenue, and that is what now has become a fairly nominal quantity of property tax revenue, but that's actually a very small portion of what makes up our overall budget. So this includes what we charge for getting a new connection to water or sewer, and it's very pleasing. Starting this year, this is the first year where we'll ever be able to say, at least in the past almost 40 years, that all year long we have the ability to sell new water connections. Last year we only had a partial year, and it was a good one, but this year we started on January 1st with that ability. So we get our revenue from connection fees. Our franchisee takes in the money for doing the solid waste services, and then usage services for sewer. There's the base amount for having service, and then there's the usage portion of the fee. And then the same thing for water. There's the service charge plus the usage quantity usage fee. So, and then we also have, of course, the bond that we're paying off. And let me point out on our bond, it's hard to believe, but it's a 30-year bond, and we have gone through 11 years of repayment on the bond, at least 10. I think we're into our 11th year of bond repayment, so we're a third of the way there.
We started repaying in 2003, I believe, right?
Mhm.
So we're 11 years done and
Yes.
into the 12th year.
Mhm.
So, said it couldn't be done, but we're already a third of the way done. So, with that, can we have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
All right. Catherine moves. Who seconds?
Well, I'll second it again.
Thank you, Bill. Any further discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Dr. Snyder Carter,
Aye.
Director Harvey,
Aye.
Dr. Boyd,
Aye.
Dr. Wilson,
Aye.
Dr. Huber.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Consent agenda. Do we have any items that board members would like to call for consideration?
I do have a question about one, and it doesn't need to be polled, we can answer it, and that is, I noticed that we had a application for a sewer permit, but not a water permit. And I was wondering, wait a minute, how is that happening now?
Well, I would have to look into this, but for example, we might receive the payment for a water connection and not have received the payment for the sewer connection at this time yet.
Okay,
I think it would have been clearly marked if this is a well conversion, so that would also then trigger only a water connection, not a
but this
sewer
was
connection.
only a sewer connection, not a
Oh,
water
it was
connection.
only a sewer connection.
So that was,
It's,
Is that
Hence my
possible?
question.
Septic system?
no, septic, that would be a completely different fee. It's
Okay.
not a connection fee, it's a septic permit fee.
it was on Burnell and Moss Beach, so it wouldn't have been a septic system because
Right.
there's no septic systems
Right,
out there.
I would have to research this, but there are.
It was just a curiosity to me, because I expected to see that they had been, if it was for a new construction, they would have also applied for a fire sprinkler permit, a water connection permit at this point.
They are, but the processes are handled independently,
Okay.
and therefore the payments can come in independently as well.
Okay.
Because now within the urban rural boundary, you can't just get a sewer permit, you have to do both
Yeah.
for new construction.
Right.
Scott, I have a question. On the unaudited financial statements, you have on the page, it's under the, I'll just read it to you, I don't know what page it is, but anyway, your overall total operating income for the period ending November 30th is $993,000 and change below budget. And I believe that's because you haven't received your payments in December.
That's
Property?
correct. Property tax comes in
No, I
December
understand
and
that.
April.
I think going forward, I would like to recommend that we look at what, that's kind of a misleading statement because you're splitting it out unevenly, like everything comes in even amounts. But in essence, you get two big chunk of money. You get them in December and you're gonna get in April. So maybe for next year, we can allocate it based on what should be expected at that time versus this even. Because the problem I had was 993, if I were reading not knowing this, is that the norm before the December payment? Is that, how far off is that, what is your case? So this is a clerical, I think going forward, if we're getting these two chunk of change, we should record them somewhat differently. Because if I'm a lay reader looking at we're $1 million below budget with no explanation, it's kind of a red flag.
Yeah, and I'd like to put this in more of a chart form that is more easily read.
However you wish to do it, going forward, I would recommend that we try to just make a tweak on it.
I think you're correct.
That we already initiated that tweak. We had this discussion already with Peter Medina, who's by the way scheduled to be here at the next meeting.
Okay.
We can go through this one more time.
I just don't want, I just like to see that normalized.
Yes.
And that's all. With that, I have.
And the explanation is directly above.
I know, but you have it in big black, and so therefore you're right. to
It's the one thing you read.
Yeah.
So I guess no one had anything to pull for discussion.
No,
Right.
we said that.
We didn't need it pulled, we just wanted to
No,
discuss it.
honestly, I've wondered for
No pulling.
a
is
very
discussed.
long time, why, if we have the really simple stuff, why don't we just like chat about it and then do it all in one motion? So I'm perfectly content to do it this way.
So
There's certain formalities that help us get through it because you never know, one of these little ones can turn into, a discussion.
They have in the past.
You should hand me the checks when you're ready.
Do we have a motion for the entirety of the consent agenda?
Thank you.
So,
White to move, anyone to second or block?
I second.
All right, all in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
That's it?
All right, consent agenda is approved 5-0. Old business item 1, review and possible action concerning change of date of district elections.
So this item was brought to the board for discussion purposes to the board at the December 4, 2014 meeting. And at that meeting, the board then voted to adopt the relevant resolution with a 5-0 result. Now, legal counsel suggested to properly agendize this as an action item and repeat the voting process at this time.
who was that guy who said that to us?
That was me.
No, legal counsel.
Well, legal counsel said that. And so, just presenting this item one more time, a little more brief than last time. Essentially, we've had this discussion numerous times at the board. This time, we actually took the initiative to prepare a resolution to the effect to change from the odd-numbered years to the same date as the statewide general election. That's held on the first Tuesday after the first Monday of November in the even-numbered years. So it's a switch from odd-numbered years to even-numbered years. And the reason for looking into this change of the election date is to provide for greater voter participation. And we looked up some statistics provided by the county elections offices over a number of years to confirm that this is really happening. And we looked at the city of Half Moon Bay, who recently changed from odd to even numbered years. That was in 2010. The city election turnout in 2009 was 27.8% for registered voters, while the turnout in 2012, after the change to even-numbered years, was 82.9%. And we have some other examples here that look similar. In essence, it's significant voter participation is increased significantly in the odd-numbered years. Another positive effect of this change to the even election years is monetary savings. It's not that significant, but it is a savings. County staff has provided us with a cost estimate for the 2015 elections of $8,500. For a potential 2016 election, the county anticipates charging us only $6,000. Again, District Council prepared a resolution, and it is important, of course, to note again that as a result of the date change, district board members whose terms will expire in December of 2015 would continue in office until December 2016, and that the board members whose term will expire in December 2017 would continue in office until December 2018. So everybody who sits on this board would get an extra year in office. Again, we brought this up at the last time. The board voted 5-0 on this. This time, the recommendation is to adopt the resolution requiring that elections of the governing body of the Montara Water and Sanitary District be held on the same day as the statewide general election.
All right, do we have any public comment on this matter? All right, board, any comments?
Yes, I do. And this is directed to Dave, our legal counsel. When all of us are elected, we're elected by the electorate for a set term, 4 years. Okay. By voting on this resolution, we're in essence giving ourselves another year without the mandate of the public. We're appointing ourselves to another year. What gives us the legal right to do that?
The elections code provides that when you make a change from the odd to the even, the offices that expire in December of the odd numbered years are extended no more than 1 year, so that you can get into the sequence of even numbered year elections.
Okay.
So it's a matter of statute as far as the state law is concerned.
Okay.
Now, you haven't asked this question, and I don't know whether you want to consider it, but the way this resolution is drafted, it provides for 1 year extension of all members. The code speaks to the, and it's an ambiguous provision of law, quite frankly, that provides for the first, the terms that would be expiring in the odd numbered year, at which time the resolution is adopted to change to even numbered years. It speaks directly to the terms of those members whose terms would expire, for instance, in 2015. Doesn't say anything about the next. But another provision of the code, which is the governing statute for our district, provides that when the district is formed, the terms of office shall be staggered. In other words,
Right.
you don't elect a whole new board at each election. So that's why the extension is provided for. Because of that possible ambiguity, I think it would be legally supported if this board wanted to have at the next election, in the first even numbered year, all board members stand for election, but I don't know if it would be 3 or 2, but whoever it is that's involved, I haven't checked maybe when your terms expire, how many are involved. You could have 4 years and 2 years, and then you'd keep your staggered terms. But what you'll be doing is you'll be allowing 2 or 3 members extend their terms by 1, and 2 or 3 members reducing their terms by 2.
Okay.
And I think you have the authority to make that decision.
Okay, then the next question is that in the process of passing this resolution, that each board member can vote yes, no, abstain. Can you abstain from the vote?
Only if you have some, this is an interesting question, the so-called vested interest. Usually it's in terms of a conflict of interest. So my advice here would be not to abstain.
Okay.
We need to have a decision where it comes down to.
However, if you have a 4-0-1 abstention, the
Well,
decision's been made.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to abstain, then
On the other hand, if you have a strong feeling about it, or want to express your feeling and explain your vote, you're certainly entitled to do that.
Yeah.
I tried to abstain once when we had someone in the audience with a very serious concern, and the very next day I was going to go in for some oral surgery.
what's that got to do with abstaining?
Well,
This sounds like this is going to be
the spouse-
The concern
the spouse of the
surgeon-
concerned citizen, who I have both of them I have a great deal of respect for, but it was an issue where I had made my position on the particular matter was quite clear, and it was a unanimous vote of this board. I was not out on a limb on this one, but it was, I tried, and Dave didn't let me off the hook. He's like, no, that doesn't get you off the hook. And
Not Aaron.
so, funny story, next day while I was getting some oral surgery, I got to listen to, to more on the topic for
While
the
you were having
entire,
the surgery.
what, yeah, well,
Any for the dentist?
yeah. In case anybody thinks that this job is all just fun and games,
And high pay.
yeah, there are those moments where you're reminded it is a very serious public duty, and sometimes isn't quite what you might have imagined when you thought running for office would be fun.
Okay, within that light of this being a serious matter, that I do think that we are elected and that we're not appointed, and that I think that that in my mind is a significant principle. The corresponding thing is the fact that I also feel that allowing greater or facilitate greater voter participation is a very desirable thing. I just don't think that we should be the ones that vote on this. Okay, so that that I was hoping I could resolve it by just simply abstaining from it, because I think that the idea itself is good. I just don't think, because I think we do have a vested interest in it.
Well, in that regard, if it helps, the primary and really the sole purpose of the resolution is to change the date of the election, not to extend terms. It's not, it would be very rare for an elected official to decide that he or she wanted to vote to change the date solely to get another year of office, in office. I suppose it might be done, but that's not the purpose of the resolution. This is an incidental effect. And as they say, the Elections Code actually provides that with respect to the need to extend the term. And it's very clear that it can't be more than 1 year.
Right. Okay, so that I am assuming that the minutes of the meeting will reflect the fact that I have this concern. And that it's your advice that abstaining is not the proper way to handle this.
It really is.
Okay.
Anyone else? But I'll weigh in, and I agree with you. I mean, what we're trying to accomplish is something that I think we all agree is something that is for the greater good, because we know we're going to get greater participation. I mean, we already have, and I must say, I mean, I look at every local election and look at the turnout numbers, and Montara and Moss Beach almost always have higher turnout than the whole rest of the coastline, either to the north or to the south, and I'm just really happy to live in a community like that. But the thought that we can have an even greater participation is a good thing. And
Right.
This community has done such incredible things. I mean, every time I drive through the tunnel, every time, I'm thinking, what a community. As we turn our taps and think about what we did to do what we've done with the water system, that's a community thing. So it's in keeping with that. And like you, it does feel a little odd that we're sitting on a decision that does have an impact on our term. I take solace in that somebody has to decide that, and it would seem really weird to have a whole nother public election to make this kind of administrative change. And I think that's why the state legislature acted to make this one-time thing a possibility. Yeah. And if we do something in error that the public feels strongly about, this community maybe don't, I don't know who knows the history on this, but was it the very first board of the Montara Sanitary District that got turned out?
Got recalled.
All 5 got recalled.
Was that it, Lou?
Our community knows how to speak up when it's time. So, and on this matter, having it on the agenda not once but twice, I've had no comments against, and I've had a number of people wanting to know why we're taking so long to get it done. So I see I get a little dissonance on this, internally, the same
Yeah.
way you do, and so I respect that. Any further comments?
So I think, like you just said, the fact that there'll be a huge amount more participation counterbalances the fact of the extra year, and this last election was a good election, but it's just more meaningful when there's a lot more participation. So with that, I'll make the motion, adopt the resolution next in line requiring that elections of the governing body, the Montara Water Sanitary District, be held on the same day as the statewide general election.
I'll second it.
Thank you. So moved by Jim, seconded by Dwight. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Slater Carter,
Aye.
Director Harvey,
Aye.
Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Wilson,
Aye.
Director Huber.
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. Thank you. New business, item 1, receive progress report of Alta Vista Tank 2 construction.
So, the board, of course, knows that the construction of the Alta Vista tank number 2, our second tank at the Alta Vista site, began in late October 2014. So since a couple of months, we actually see construction activity up at the Alta Vista site. Western Water Constructors won the bid, and that was a bid over $2.9 million. So this is, for this community, at least the most expensive construction project that we've seen in a very long time. The only other project that I can think of that could have exceeded that could have been the construction of the treatment plant, but that was so long ago that I'm thinking,
If you adjust for dollars, maybe, Lou?
if you adjust for
remember that?
dollars, but I'm pretty certain we're talking about, at least it is one of the most expensive infrastructure project that this community has seen.
Has paid for.
Yes. And so the scheduled completion date for this construction is December 2015. So within 14 months, we are planning to erect a pre-stressed, that is wire-wrapped tank that was designed by our water engineer SRT Consultants. So we have a little update prepared, and Tim Monahan is actually presenting this with a slideshow. I think it's very good to see some pictures, to see what's actually happening up there. So I think I'm going to set up this unit right now and project some slides, and I would hand over to Tim, and he can essentially show and explain where we are in the process and how we're moving forward in the coming months.
So you would recommend that some of us move back to the audience for the slideshow?
Which gives us a perfect opportunity to have some more of those cookies.
So we should take a 5-minute break? 5-minute break?
I think we're ready to go.
Is that how much you need?
Unless you need a break?
Take a break, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm moving, but not take a break.
That sounds good, yeah, I agree, 5 minutes.
Okay.
5 minutes.
Wait a minute.
From SRT with our presentation.
Okay, thanks, Scott. I'd just like to start the presentation saying that as I heard in the discussion prior to this is a significant achievement of the board and of the community, and is probably one of the largest infrastructure projects that's happened probably to date, and certainly it's something that SRT is very proud of, and glad to be helping the district through this process. And it took us many years to get here, so I'd like to, commend the board for the efforts to get us to this point. And what I'd like to do is just give you an update of where we are right now, give you a background of what style of tank we're building, where we are in our schedule, and what we're looking forward to in the next few months. I have some agendas, or not agendas, but the presentation printed out. You can circulate those around if you are interested.
There's going to be more stuff to read.
Okay, and a lot of it is, a lot of the presentation is just visual, and I'll talk through it. If anybody would like to stop or slow down or ask questions, feel free to do so. Again, our project team, with SRT Consultants, I'm Tim Monahan, and as Clement said, the awarded contractor was Western Water Constructors, and they partnered with DN Tanks, which is a collaboration between DYK and NatGun. DYK is a Western premier tank constructor on the West Coast. NatGun, from my work on the East Coast, they were very prominent there. The two forces had joined together, formed DN Tanks just a few years ago, and we have one of the best firms working on our project. Some of the features, the tank that we're building, the Alta Vista tank number 2 is a 500,000 gallon capacity or 500,000 gallon capacity, pre-stressed reinforced concrete tank. It's partially or mostly buried, and as Clement said, the cost of the project is about $2.9 million. And we started work just about 2 months ago, and we're expected to be finished in December. As you recall, this project has been bid twice. Originally, we went out to bid in the springtime, and the bids were not as attractive as we would like them to have been. And through working with Clemens and our engineering staff and taking a new look at the project and collaborating with the contractors who bid on the project, we were able to get feedback from them about what the very expensive ingredients in the project were and how to maybe remedy them, pull them in a little bit. And in doing so, we took a hard look at the design and were able to raise the elevation of the bottom of the tank 6 feet, which reduced the excavation and the materials handling. We deferred putting solar panels on the roof, which was part of the original design, and we moved the wet wall closer to the tank, and were able to reduce the excavation quite significantly. So real quickly, I won't bore anybody. It's kind of engineer talk, but it's kind of something I get excited about when talking about these types of tanks. They're complex. They're not just you see steel tanks similar to ones we did up on Schoolhouse. Each style of tanks has its own complexity, and due to the seismic zone that we're in, the pre-stressed concrete tank is the ideal product for this location. And these tanks are essentially slab, walls, and a roof. The walls are the most complicated part because they're seismically strained and anchored down to the floor slab. Floor slab, as you would imagine, this is another project. Floor slabs with the utilities underneath are cast, and forms are set for the inside of the walls of the tank. And as you can see, the reinforcing is quite unique. It's not your regular standard rebar that fits around the tank. These are tendons, they call them, that extend up from the slab into the wall to give the structure stability in the event of lateral movement due to an earthquake. And as you see the white pipes running up and down, those pipes are what we use to post tension and put the walls into compression vertically. So as you can see, this is much more complicated a structure than it appears from the naked eye. In other parts of the country where earthquakes are not as prominent, these pictures are from facilities or tanks that were built on the East Coast, where they just cast the slabs in the ground, lift them into place, and then they seal them together. Sealing them together involves wrapping them around the circumference with tightly cables, you'd say. Put the cables into tension, and this keeps the tank from wanting to push out as hydrostatic pressure of the water wants to, extend out. It's a special wrapping machine, and it takes several days, and as the machine goes around, workers use spools of wire to tightly wrap the outside of the tank. And then, after that is done, concrete sprayed on to the exterior, call it shotcrete, as it's shot out of the nozzle. And that's put on to 2 to 3 inches thick, and that protects the wires on the outside of the tank. The design of our tank, the Alta Vista tank, is going to have a domed roof, and I found this photo of a domed roof, partially buried, reinforced concrete tank, similar to ours. And so this is approximately what we'll see when you go up to Alta Vista in the future. So, some of the construction challenges we have right off the bat. Our little buddy up there on the right, he's cute. These are San Francisco dusky-footed wood rat, and kind of cute, but he's kind of our nemesis up there right now. He has his little habitats in all the places we don't want him to be. But we were able to, and we also have some significant trees up there and other requirements from the Coastal Commission that kind of guided where we can work and where we couldn't. So much so that the contractor was pinned into an area where he had very little room to stockpile all the excavated material. But through collaboration, working with Clemens, our biologist, the contractor, we were able to identify new areas up near the Alta Vista tank on the district's property where we could store the material and not need to truck it down and then truck it back in. And we also looked at an area right out here near the behind the district's office that might be used as a potential area. But for now, the contractor is being able to stockpile all this material right nearby.
And that material will go back up there later?
Some of it. Obviously, the volume of the tank, that material is going to he's going to sell it or get rid of it.
Okay.
But the tank does need to be backfilled.
Okay.
And which segues well into how we're building the tank, and I'll explain that in a second where the material is coming back. Construction progress to date. Again, we started in October. The contractor is mobilized. This is a view looking at the site right now, looking toward the ocean. And he has contracted his offices right there. And he has cleared, grubbed, and started the initial descent of the excavation. Before he started this, needed to relocate some water utilities, some electric utilities, and then started to build his access road. As you can imagine, we're building a tank straight down. We need to get trucks in there. So the road that we build to get in is going to have to decrease and get steeper and steeper as the tank gets deeper and deeper.
And then as you fill the tank up, finally the road will get filled in again?
Yes. So how we do this is, if you look at this diagram, this is the shoring plan that the contractor came up with. And again, this was a unique approach to excavating for this tank. In most cases, you need to excavate and have sloped backfill on either side. This contractor opted for a vertical wall all the way around the tank and the access road. And as you can see, the dock line on the outside is a wall that he's constructing right now. And this retaining wall is built not from the ground up, but from the top down. Now, as he excavates, he'll shore up what he excavated, dig down some more, shore it up, and then dig down. This process is called tied back shotcrete wall. And as you can see here, this picture is about a week old. He has dug down about 6 feet, and if you look closely, you can see wire reinforcement held up against the wall. And periodically, about every 5-6 feet, you'll see holes drilled into the self-supporting wall. And those are for the tiebacks. Now, these tiebacks are drilled with a large drill like this. You might see at a quarry. And they're drilled, in some cases, up to 20 to 30 feet into the wall to an engineered plan. This is a plan that was stamped by a registered engineer who specializes in soil stabilization and shoring projects for large projects like this. As you can see, it's a geometric pattern, and every few feet going down, he will reinforce this wall and drill it back into the existing soil.
Ultimately, how tall is this wall going to be?
24 feet at its maximum. As you can see right here, the 24 feet, Catherine?
I couldn't read it, that's... I'm
Yeah,
old.
I could barely read that myself, but I've been staring at these for months, so
So Tim, this is the same thing as you go up 92, the Shot Creek
Exactly.
wall, tieback wall on the 92 going up the hill?
On those
Big
steep
cement.
retaining walls,
Yeah.
with the anchors in them?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or on double slide, now you can walk and examine them closely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the ones when you look over the cliff.
But no, there's some on the inside, on the mountain side.
Oh,
On the
okay.
uphill side.
Yeah,
The big steel rod pins, right? It's the
those are
drilled
tie-backs.
way back in and
You have
Yes.
to walk to
Anchored.
see it now, you used to drive past it.
Yeah, I drove in there the other day. I got in, it was getting dark, so I thought, I wanted to walk down there and see the new park, but it's getting too dark.
it's gorgeous.
So anyway, these are tiebacks, and ours are much smaller than the ones that are on Devil Slide. But as you see, every 5 feet, they'll put a new tieback. You know, as you can see, we started, the first tieback at the very top is installed. You saw that in the photograph. And then the contractor will excavate down, put new tiebacks in, build some more wall, and then keep on that process until he gets down to his bottom limit of excavation. And again, what we'll have when we're done is a wall 5 inches wide with nails holding it in and completely self-supporting so the contractor can build vertically down, saving a tremendous amount of excavation that didn't need to be done. Right here, you'll see this photograph was taken today. Here is the top wall. As you can see, the anchors are in place, and the sprayed concrete or shotcrete has first been applied. The contractor is starting his excavation for the next, I'm going to call it lift or level going down. And again, a couple things to look forward to. Again, probably the most exciting thing is when we finish out and we bottom out at the bottom of the excavation. We hope to do that by mid-February, about a month from now. And after that, we'll be constructing the slab, the walls, and the roof. Once again, the walls are going to be going up in April. Fascinating structures. They're very complicated and very interesting to watch them get put together. Highly recommended. The contractor has lots of extra hard hats. I would gladly take everybody up there for a tour. It's going to be very exciting in April. Then again, the rest of the year, May, August through October, we're going to be doing the finishing touches, ladders, testing, piping, site improvements, and with our landscaping, capping things off and finishing the project in mid-December. And that's about all I have. That's my update. Any questions? Very, very cool project.
Where is this being built is the question. It's Alta Vista, but maybe you guys could explain for Walt a little bit more.
Okay, if you,
Well, if you're familiar with Montara, essentially, if you drive all the way back Cedar Street, all the way up to the top, it turns into Alta Vista Road actually at one point. You can take 2 ways through the forest there, but
There you go, there's a map.
here's a map.
Just a second.
And then up the hill, up there, so that's where our Alta Vista site is, on the ridge up
Okay.
there.
It's about the furthest north point in Montara. When you're up there, you overlook all of Montara and Moss Beach, and you can see the ocean.
so, if you follow it again, Alta Vista Road, all the way up to the
general
top.
idea, I appreciate it, really. Just kind of curious, because you kept talking about the ocean view, and I kept thinking, where is this thing?
Well, and it's
But the ocean view is
important.
fantastic from up there, and if you and you can drive up to the location. I did this over the holiday break. My wife and I drove up to right below the construction site, and then a lot of people don't know, but there's a trail that goes up into the GGNRA property, and they're doing actual trail maintenance. So it used to be completely overgrown, especially with poison oak, and so I just stayed away from it. But they've cleared it back. They've provided some good drainage control, so you can carefully see this and then go on up for a beautiful hike up above it.
Well, and it's the highest point in the district, so this will be a gravity flow tank, which saves us all kinds of money. And it's by our Alta Vista well, so it will receive The water in our Alta Vista well, if you look at the graphs that were in our consent agenda, is what provides most of the water most of the year to the entire district. So this is, in terms of engineering, just the optimal place to keep costs down.
Hence the name, Alta Vista.
I
And-
do.
And if you do go hiking out there, poison oak is everywhere still. I
Stay in the middle of the trail.
Testimony on my legs right now.
Oh,
I took a hike up there, up to the top, and it was,
I think you can buy hazmat suits at
I look a little silly, but
the
I
disposable
I wish
Tyvek
I did.
suits.
Well, you might warn the public at this time of year, I don't think poison oak usually has any leaves, so it's hard to spot. It's dry sticks, but they still cause itching.
Yeah. The bark.
stay in the middle of the trail, stay away from the stuff sticking out, and
Creature
don't
has
pick up a stick and
hazmat
pick your teeth with it. It's not a good idea.
Well, I actually saw
Stick it-
a
stick it
nest or
what?
a mitten for the dust, it was a wood rat. And as I was hiking up there, I said, oh, I wonder if he's in there. So I kind of went into the bushes a little bit and couldn't see anything, and then I walked
Storm
out.
comes out.
And then I thought to myself, boy, I'm gonna pay for that.
Tech new, advice.
Heck no, by the gallon, yeah.
So that tank, being basically a gunite concrete tank, that's sort of the best of the best.
It is. It's a reinforced, post-tension, and then wire-wrapped tank with a gunite
Yeah.
protective coating on the outside.
Will the tank be painted on the outside? Will you paint the tank when it's all done?
No, right now it's gray.
Nobody-
I didn't believe we could.
Oh, no.
You know,
but
I
do you
I
plan to
actually
paint it?
think when we visited a construction site to see how this works, they used colored shotcrete.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
So we'll have to look at, but I think there might be also some color specified.
Oh, so it'd be kind of like
quite
maybe
sure
earth tones or something.
Let's see.
I think so.
I think similar to the schoolhouse tanks, we had requirements from the
Yes.
Coastal Commission of coloring.
Right.
I'm sorry, Jim.
Oh, sorry.
It skips my mind right now. We had so much else going on. I think we do have something about pigment or color in this.
Yes,
Oh, good,
I think
great.
it was
Oh, great.
specified by Coastal Commission back then,
Oh, wow.
so similar to schoolhouse tank.
Oh, good. Great.
So is I'll let you get on with your meeting. Very good.
Tim, thank you very
Any
much.
further questions?
Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation. It's,
You guys have done great, always done great jobs, and you're,
I'm looking forward. I definitely want to get up there, and I want to see the wall being constructed. That looks great.
Yeah, the wall is going to be the most exciting part, but bottoming out, kind of like when steel erectors get to the top of the building, they put up the American flag. I think we should have a mini celebration when we bottom out.
Yeah.
It's going to be a significant force.
Are you already thinking about a box that you want to put down below?
No, I was thinking about the Montara Moss Beach flag. I'm not quite
The
sure what
Grand
that looks
Duchy of
like.
Fenwell?
That might be it.
One other real highlight.
So the wet weather project worked
American
well
flag that says don't tread
at the
on
last
me.
big rain. It actually worked.
Oh, it worked fantastic.
Someone's yard.
They put over 11 million gallons through it.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it worked without a hitch.
Good.
That's great.
All passive, no valves,
By
no
the way, I had a
pumps.
chance to.
No?
So
Right
Jim,
across the
back
Golden
to
Gate
this
Bridge.
project here real quick, because
I'm sorry.
To see the, that barrier.
one
and then
one
see
of the highlights of the construction, Bill, is going to be the wire wrapping. So there's essentially two times where we're going to ask them to attend, because it's the final wall construction, but we also want everyone to see the actual wire wrapping. It's very impressive
Can
how
I
this
put my
machine
initials in the floor?
on the bottom,
Yes.
Underneath.
underneath.
Catherine, only if you can get the passwords at the meeting before the meeting starts.
Okay, Scott wants a time capsule. You want any
Initials of the cement.
I want the boards, yeah, maybe just a
Actually,
little,
This is gonna be a real geeky question, but the rebar is, how is it coated so that it doesn't corrode?
Stainless steel?
No, stainless steel is sort of a,
corrosive.
No, it's deeply embedded in the wall,
Right.
and then the cables that go around the outside are galvanized,
Right.
and then And then they're coated under 2 to 3 inches of sprayed gunite.
Right.
And they're not sitting in standing water.
But I was gonna say,
No
there's
oxygen can reach to it, no.
But the cables in
no,
there.
no oxygen, and there's also a very, very thorough drainage system put in around it, so there's no standing water.
But the cables, the tension cables, are they
Well,
some special steel or?
Well, they're high strength alloy, but they're embedded
Okay,
in the
okay.
middle of,
So
I
they
believe the
don't-
wall's 9 inches thick over its overall composition.
Right.
Okay.
I don't know, did you ever see the boats that they were making here in the 70s, Bill, that were concrete?
Ferrocement
And
boats.
with
Ferrocement boats.
The ferrocement boats. Now, those rusted.
Well, that's the whole thing. Concrete is not waterproof.
No.
So how does it keep the oxygen out?
Well, it is porous, but these structures are designed for this, and they have a very long service life.
Yeah.
There's a
Even-
coating on
even
the
in coating-
inside of the tank, right? There's a coating on the inside of the tank?
There will be waterproofing on the inside of the tank,
Okay.
yes, but not like the schoolhouse tanks where we coat them and you walk inside and it looks like a clean room for a hospital.
Right.
Uh,
But this will be a waterproof coating on the inside of the concrete
Yes,
tank.
to prevent capillary action of
Okay.
water going into the walls.
Great.
And the other thing is, more than half of our tank is going to be underground. Not exposed to the elements.
I would appreciate sort of for every meeting, not necessarily having SRT here. but
More
maybe
pictures.
More pictures.
We
So
actually.
keep us out of your hair.
Well, we'll see how full the next meeting is, if we can squeeze some pictures in.
More pictures.
Maybe even send them.
We can have the meeting up at the tank site.
You know what?
Inside the tank.
Inside the
Actually,
tank.
that's a good one.
Jen, now your age is really showing.
All right. I guess somebody better share
By
this
having
thing.
people put their hands up against like Chinese Grauman's Theater for X amount of dollars.
That's right,
Funds for
that's right, that's right.
for the district.
We could get people
You know,
to pay
we have
$20
some
for
really
time.
famous people living in our community who are trying to keep a low profile, but we could bring them out, and
Tim, thank you very much.
we have some
That was very nice, thank you.
very famous musicians, for example. All right.
One comment that I will make for the public is that when we started our master plan, it was expected that we would need a 1 million gallon tank, which was going to be much, much more expensive. And I will sound praise for SRT, who looked at our water use and our water conservation in this district and all the fixes that Clemens and our crew have done to the system to stop leaks. And they said, to meet the requirements now, you only need a 500,000 gallon tank. And there are very few engineering firms who will go, no, we don't need to make millions of dollars. We'll just settle for, $500,000 or whatever. I'm pulling the numbers out of thin air. But I want to show that
What you were saying is most
It goes all in your
don't
pocket, Tim, huh?
intentionally downsize a project.
most do not intentionally downsize a project. And for this community, this will meet our needs for the next, 30 years or something?
No.
Or forever? Perpetuity.
Well, I mean, we're going. A steel tank has an expected service life of about 50 years, right? Concrete tanks, 100, 150.
Well, that's a 80 to 100.
Yeah.
Properly maintained.
Right.
Longer than it was be alive.
Actually, we have a
No.
concrete tank in the district that is over 100 years old. Our raw water tank was the old original
That's right.
drinking water tank, and that is over 100 years old. So, and we still use it today.
Wow.
So this project is just a very solid investment in our system for the long future.
Yeah, and we really did, I don't want to say lucked out, but we obtained really good contractor, very diligent, very environmentally and neighbor conscious. Has made friends with all the neighbors abutting the project.
Yeah, that's great.
And as a matter of fact, I just found out that when we got a box of chocolates for SRT for birthdays, found out we weren't the only ones. I guess all the neighbors got them too. So,
Oh, nice.
so
less
Oh, yeah.
touch.
So they're a very civic-minded group, and they're doing excellent work for us right now.
You know, you've got SRT, you and Tanya have done a great job on this, and as you did with the wet weather project, you saved a lot of money on that project too, going from round pipes to square pipes.
Yeah.
Remember, that was a great
Square
saving.
boxes, yeah.
Square boxes.
And we can still expand them.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't think we need to. I said that to Rob the other day, his eyes lit up, and I said, no.
No, but
Well-
that was actually, as the board considered what our options were, the ability to expand, building something that didn't box us in, if you will, to,
Oh.
yeah. No, but we really did want to make sure that we left ourselves room, so we were careful with the siting of where we place things on the property, and SRT got us an option that really gave us a lot more flexibility. So
Well,
if we
and
need
while
it, we have it.
Engineer is here and our two SAM reps and people are watching. In the 15.5 inches of water that we got in December, did we have any spills that would have resulted if we had not had that wet weather facility?
There were, everyone knows that the rain came down buckets at certain points. There were some issues. We haven't had a full report yet, so we'll get that from the
But
next
that
SAM meeting.
facility performed
Well,
as you would have.
what Tim was saying was that the wet weather facility in Granada handled how many million?
11.5, I think, was the number
Yeah.
that eventually was pumped through that pump station.
Right.
But all the while, the tanks were full and they were acting as they should.
Yeah.
And then once the storm passed and flow started to go down, the tanks were able to empty out by gravity.
And of course,
So
that was without.
they saved us a huge amount of potential spills.
Right, exactly.
I
That would have all been on Surfers Beach, Half Moon Bay, Surfer Beach.
And the 11.5, to put this in perspective, that's more than 10 times what we see on an average day.
Yeah.
And let me note too, SAM staff didn't have to actively manage any kind of playing with pumps or anything else. Those tanks are all passive. It's all gravity. And so if there's extra volume, it just backs up in there on its own and drains out on its own.
comes right back up.
No extra pumping on our part, no extra valve handling. And what the crew used to have to do is have people here and there and radio and carefully communicate to balance things so it didn't spill anywhere. And now we've got this very nice, sizable, passive system that provides a basis, and then crew that has to be out at night in the rain can be elsewhere that needs their attention. So it's so good, you know, on so many fronts.
And the other thing is that the weeds on top with the project are growing nicely.
Yes, I noticed the rain has made them much more lush.
I'm sure we'll discuss that at the next SAM meeting. All right.
Warrens and
Well, we got a few other things to do. So Tim, thank you so much.
Thanks, Tim.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, next item, review and possible action concerning change orders 1 through 4 for the 2014 sewer improvement project and spot repairs.
So off we go to the sewer side and more exciting infrastructure projects. Those are less visible, but not are as exciting as the tank. In March of this past year, the board approved the 2014 sewer improvement project to our contractor Pacific Trenchless, and they've implemented a lot of the work. And now we submitted some contract change orders, and of course they've worked very closely with our sewer engineer, Newt Engineering. And I'm just going to go through this very briefly because we have Pippin here who can go much more into the detail and explain the work that is planned here. Real quick, we're bringing all these change orders up right now. Some of those are less expensive than others. I'll point out which ones are the most expensive that we really want the board here to approve. So first of all, we want some additional televising work and cleaning that was performed on a collapsed pipe that's that's on Cypress Street. That's for $4,375. We would like reimbursement for the county encroachment permit fee of $1,500. We'd like to add some pipe bursting of the sewer pipe on the collapsed pipe on 11th Street. That is $18,354,000. And we'd add some pipe bursting of the sewer pipe on 8th Street. That's east of Farallon. That pipe contains a number of bad offset joints, and that's at a bid item price of $38,076. So we want to move forward with all those additions that were bid. The engineer's estimate for the base bid without those was $485,000. The base bid was accepted in the amount of $393,000. So we're well below, close to almost $100,000 below the engineer's estimate. We budgeted a total of $587,000 for this year's sewer improvement project, including the CCTV work. It's a separate line item. So the total project, including the above listed change orders, would then be $493,000. So we would still be $90,000 plus $90,000 below the budgeted amount if the board chooses to approve these change orders. And Pippin, maybe you want to explain all the things that I can't explain.
Thank you. Is this on? For the microphone, I guess. Pleasure to be here tonight, and for the public, I'm working with the sewer side of the district, and if you'd like, I can just recap briefly with a little bit more detail. The sewer project, some people in the community maybe saw the work or were fortunate enough to have it in their backyard. Most people didn't see too much work because a lot of the project was on this year's bid was what we call pipe bursting, where the cables are run through the existing clay pipes and the new pipes are pulled through with generally minimal excavation except at the individual spots. And doing that work, and one of the ways that we were able to keep with our sewer management plan in continually inspecting the district, we bundled as a line item CCTV, which is a what we call closed circuit television, where there's special cameras which are put down in the sewer main pipes, and we investigate for cracks and offsets and major problems which would likely cause stoppages, roots, and various things. Certain individual spots we then dug up and repaired, and when there was either too many of those to be economically feasible or the line was just in too bad shape to get through it, we would, in the case of change orders 3 and 4, recommend replacing the whole pipe end to end. And so in a nutshell, that's the overall of what happened and what's planned for completing this project. The contract work is at about 95%. I have some punch list items in general, tidying up and things for making whole on their obligations and warranty. But in terms of the major disruption to the public, it's largely completed. So with that, any questions, I'd be happy to answer for more detail.
All right, thank you. We have a recommendation to authorize the change order 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the extra work required. Can we have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Jim moving and seconding. Any further discussion?
Just a real quick question. This is below the authorized approved budget. Why does it just even need our approval, don't you? You're under budget.
I think I hand that off to one of your colleagues
Okay.
or legal counsel.
Well, there's what we were told was going to be done, and this is in addition to that. So it's, I'll let Dave have a say too, but just from a policy standpoint, it's long-standing policy that change orders like this come to the board. Some of what happens in these discussions is sometimes we'll surface one or two more things that we want to do as well. I'm also quite happy to see what kind of things happen in the interactions between staff and our engineering firms or our contractors. To see that interaction, the interplay. We have in years past had staff come to us and say, you know, we got such a good bid on this, and we've got all this money budgeted, and we took our top X number of things thinking this is how much money we had, and our money can go this much further, so we went and did several more things. I think that's part of why it's our long-standing policy to bring this in.
Well, and let me add that it's transparency for the public, for the people who are following this. If they see that because we approve our bid in public, so the public can see that we approved X dollars, then we adopted a bid and accepted a bid for Y dollars, and then at the end of the project, they will be able to know where each dollar of that was spent.
But can't we get all that just by making this an informational item, just like we did the last item we just had?
I think I understand your question a little bit different, and let me answer it also a bit different. When you approve a budget...
Yeah, okay, now I see where you're going with this.
When you approve a budget, Bill, you do not approve any of the projects that are in it. You approve the overall budget. You approve the collection of the funds from the public. And that is why we bring this to the board, so that we get approval of the actual project. So while you approve a list of things that we plan to do for a year, that doesn't mean that, if there is $10,000 in computers, that at the end of the year, we still have $5,000 left. We need to spend $5,000 in computers, even though we don't need them.
It's funny in a lot of businesses where, if you've got budget, use it or lose it. Everybody knows that phrase.
Yeah.
Here, we've got a whole different dynamic, which is we didn't need to spend it. Look at the other things that we could bring to the board and show them that we can do with the money that they have decided. We have had situations, and Sam is the kind of the prototypical example of this. A long time ago, money that wasn't spent got spent anyway, and outside the view of the board. And one can debate whether or not what was done with it was the right thing, but there is no debate that the board didn't get a lot of say-so in it. And we instituted a policy that says unspent monies have to be accounted for, and right now we have a policy that those monies are returned to the member agencies, because what we had was essentially a slush fund building up. And somewhere around, I think, 2002 or so, the Little Hoover Commission did a report about agencies around the state that were gathering up these slush funds. And I think we're all in agreement that the best thing to do is say, hey, we didn't need to spend that money. Let's figure out how we can use it wisely. And bringing it back to the table, asking for this, it provides that.
I think there's, I would do a medium role on this. I think in the future, when you have a bid, so you have the budget, you get the bid, it was what, $300 and some odd thousand. I do think we should be in a position to give some discretionary, I'm used to 10% discretionary, because change orders are not unusual in the construction trade. So like some of this $2,000 and $3,000 stuff, I think if we want an informational on how this is being done, that can be done by an informational.
I think where these items tonight, these are extra work. So this is, a lot of change orders are.
But it's still part of the project. All I'm trying to say is, as we look at future projects, I think we need to be able to give them some discretion, because it's a change, but it's part of the project. And I'm used to, and I think oversight is great. This group is really good at that. I just think that I'm used to, is there's a kind of a 10% play, of which we give that they have to report it back as part of their project change. It still comes back to the board as informational. And anything beyond 10%, regardless whether
Yeah.
it's, it doesn't make any difference, but
Well, I think the distinction I'm trying to draw is there's change and then there's add. And when it's additional items that we can do because we have the opportunity, or because here's something that we simply didn't anticipate that is
we'll change,
separate.
well, we're quibbling, but I think.
Yeah, no, right, I agree.
And the change part is usually related to the project. I agree with you that if we have an opportunity to expand at a significant level, meaning it's at beyond that 10%, if the change only costs you $500, just do it, be done with it. But I would like us to think about that 10% criteria. First of all, it allows them to do it quickly, and when sometimes it's cheaper just to say go for it. And secondly, it should be done with the proviso that it's reported back anyway, just as an informational item. And then a significant discussion about should we have a second one, which then becomes bigger than 10% by most.
So what was our total on this, on the delta?
Well, I'm looking at this and roughly what is this? This is around $60,000. And thank you for the clarification, Dwight. This is how we handle change orders. Staff routinely approves change orders, minor change orders that do not go to the board. But this cumulative effect sum is much larger than 10%. This comes in a bundle to us, and it's a significant sum, larger than 10%.
2,000, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
But-
well,
but
thank you for the
and
question.
I will add, there have been other much larger districts who have had embezzlement going on that, because the board perhaps wasn't as careful. And so it's, I think for this board and this community, I think it's important. We are able to get our business done without slowing things down.
Okay, so we've got the motion in front of us. Catherine and Jim moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Item 3, review and possible action concerning award of change order 3 and 4 for the pump station control panel upgrades phase 1.
So this is our second big infrastructure on the project on the sewer side this year. Electrical control panel upgrade. What this really is, we have a number of pump stations, 13 pump stations overall in the district.
At least 13 major pump stations and 21 minor pump stations.
So this is the big difference to our other member agencies in the Sewer Authority Mid-Coast side. The terrain requires high number of pump stations in the district, and all those have above ground controls, and they were at the end of their useful life. So the board essentially approved in July 2014 phase 1, and we now received change order 3 and change order 4, and it's fairly similar to what we just saw. Actually, it's more extreme because I think we budgeted $245,000. The engineer's estimate was just below that at $225,000 for the phase 1 project, and we received a bid in the amount of $83,000, which was very significantly below all other bidders. So that's a very curious bid that we received here, and very good for us, of course, for the district to get this amount of work done for very, very good price. So what we're asking for now is to take advantage essentially of this price, and I'm going to let Pippin explain what those change orders are, but one is for $48,000, the other one is for $28,000. So one involves PG&E meters and covers and so on, and the other one is an automatic transfer switch that allows a generator to turn on and off. The electricals can switch over from a generator to PG&E power and so on. So, Pippin, if you want to
Okay. Thank you, Clement. So a quick backstory just to kind of for someone that questions if they're know about construction, you might have a red flag when estimates, or excuse me, actual bids come in quite a bit lower than our projected costs for the work. There's sort of two sides to that. One side was that the low bidder is a strong competitor to the normal electrical maintenance contractor out here on the coast side, other areas in the Bay Area, and they really wanted to make a dent in this territory, so they were committing to build a project with minimal profit, let's just say, because they wanted to make a presence. They made that pretty clear. Question from council is, will they hold their, are they going to hold their price and honor it? And they have. Now, the second part of that is one of the things in this business that's really difficult to budget is that a lot of our control equipment out here, we package in stainless steel because we're by the coast. And stainless steel material prices often fluctuate dramatically. And so, one bid we can have a $20,000 cabinet, and the next bid it might be $90,000, and it's virtually the same cabinet. And so getting those prices and first round of estimates and likely our overall estimate was based on stainless steel. We reduced the stainless steel, took it out of the bid to get the project out. And once we got it, we came to the board, and the board agreed, well, no, we'd really like to get a price for stainless steel. So the first change orders that aren't shown here, we're actually bringing stainless steel back into the project, and we were able to do it at a very competitive price. Secondly, goes to board president's discussion about looking at the rest of the infrastructure. We had planned to do this over a couple years, but the contractor was mobilizing and coming in, so we looked at the opportunity of adding some of the next year's projects into this budget. The same type of work, so it was just a natural extension. So this is partly what's happening here in change order 3. We're taking care of a lot of improvements at the remaining pump stations, as well as adding actually 3 new automatic transfer switches at 3 of the pump stations to improve the reliability and reduce the complication for maintenance staff during emergency powers situations, and as well as upgrading the power PG&E meters where the boxes are rusty and so forth. We're replacing those with stainless steel units. So that's the overall scope here of the.
And to be clear, we still call it phase 1, but those items are actually from phase 2. So we're pulling.
So we're finishing a year early, essentially, is what we're doing.
Great.
Now, will this company then work with us on overall maintenance of these?
Well, maintenance.
When they're finished with the.
Maintenance still is handled through Sam, and Sam has a contract with the other company. But 2 things happen. First of all, in case of emergency, it's nice to have more than one phone number. So, as gaining knowledge of the work of the stations here, they also gain the opportunity to provide emergency service if the other contractor is not available, and they can increase the competitiveness on other projects coastside to make sure that the one guy's not just saying, oh, I've got a monopoly out here, I'm going to charge whatever I think's fair. It keeps them both a little more honest. So I don't think he would bid quite this low again, but I think he made a point that he can perform work out here and
But I'm just
work.
wondering if for, maybe it's something we had talked about earlier in previous meetings about maybe having this district take over, if we can get it at a lower cost, some of what Sam is charging us for.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we should be looking at talking to these guys about, if not a complete maintenance package, at least a partial.
Yeah, these guys are really the technical and programming side of it. So where this would come in are things relating to SCADA radios, electrical tune-ups and reliabilities, operations of motors and pumps, and general maintenance and cleaning and annual services. So
And that applies to water system
and that would
as
apply to
well.
water system as well. It is something that could be entertained to get competitive pricing on some of those items. It's not necessarily good practice to to swap around a lot when you have a lot of different people. You get some benefit to having dedicated service people in the field that really know the system inside and out. So I wouldn't advocate running to another company immediately just because one bid was lower. But I think it's nice having that opportunity to get competitive prices and have an additional company you can call in times of need, or if you have a special project.
And to that switch that you indicated, of course we have our maintenance agreement with SAM, and SAM has authority to fix anything that breaks in the system for us, and they do this. But I want to praise the sewer engineer here. Pippin is very active in the system, knows it, and is here almost every week walking the system, and it essentially alerts us, takes a little bit of this function from SAM, alerts us to items that need replacement, gets bids, gets these contractors out for us, and we do this work essentially directly without SAM a lot of times. So and see, you know, really excellent advice and price checking through Newt Engineering.
Okay, we have before us a request to authorize the change order 3 and change order 4 and extend the contract days an additional 60 days for the extra work required. Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Bill?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I didn't ask the audience earlier, but any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries 5-0. New business item 4, review of Montara Water and Sanitary District's receipt of Association of California Water Agencies Joint Powers Authority President's Special Recognition Award. That may be the longest single phrase I've ever seen on one of our agendas.
Right. Well, this came very much to our surprise. We received an award, a President's Special Recognition Award, and this is essentially through our workers' compensation insurance provider. That's, I'm simply going to say Aqua JPIA, which is even a long acronym. We switched to Aqua JPIA on January 1st, 2013, and at the time the district's workers' comp rate was very high, and that was due to some claims that were made in the prior years. Since then, we've worked very closely with Aqua JPIA together to prevent further losses, and the result was that the experience modification factor dropped from 2.12, that you multiply essentially your payments to the insurance company by 2.12 to currently 1.16. So it's a significant drop. We essentially followed all their recommendations, and they've been out here numerous times and really holding our hand through this process. And just to show you what this means in dollars, in 2012 we spent $62,400 on workers' compensation insurance. In 2015, if everything goes well, we will spend $18,900 on the same service. So at the Aqua Fall Conference, the Joint Powers Authority recognized our efforts and presented the district with the President's Special Recognition Award.
As if the savings weren't enough.
Well, it was an unexpected gift from them. It was wonderful.
That's
gesture,
terrific.
I think.
Well, it's nice.
Congratulations.
Yes. I remember in years past we have had to rely a little bit more than we have recently on our insurances.
Yes.
So,
Well, congratulations to you and to the crew, because it's a sign of good leadership and quality crew to have this. And
Thank you.
So it's a good job for everyone.
And it reflects better safety all around, so it's very good for the people who work in our employ on behalf of the people in our community. Okay. There's a lot of interesting, good accomplishments tonight. Item number 5, review and possible action concerning declaration of certain district assets as surplus property and authorized disposal. By this, I take it you're not meaning board members.
Next list. So we put a little salvage inventory together. There's nothing exciting on it. It's outdated computers, keyboards,
You're
a scanner.
cleaning the basement.
We're cleaning the basement, a
Yes.
fax machine. All this stuff needs to be thrown away. As a public agency, we need to declare it surplus. And please authorize disposal by adopting resolution of the Montara Water and Sanitary District declaring certain property as surplus and authorizing
That
its
will remove accident potential down there too, thank you.
So, do we have any public comment on that?
Yeah. You gonna recycle all this stuff?
Of course, absolutely. We're not, yes.
By the way, when is
Chris
the
will
next
take it.
Recology e-waste event at Fairlawn View?
Second Saturday in February.
Oh, it's like, here, let me Google that for you.
Out of my county.
So, okay, how many pages do I have to turn before I find it? Quarterly recycle days. On page 2, it looks like January, no, that's El Granada. Montara Moss Beach, February 14th. Valentine's Day.
Oh, what a
Up at
sweet
Fairlawn
treat.
View from 9 to 1 p.m. Thank you, Clemens. And then it's every quarter, so the one after that is May 9th. But if you hit the one coming up on Valentine's Day,
We should pick up some Valentine's
Let's-
cards to give to everybody who recycles e-waste.
There's also a shredding day coming up too, I think the last Saturday in January.
that should be fun.
That's important.
All right, we have a request to adopt the resolution, so Dwight moves. Do you have a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Director Slater Carter,
I,
Director Harvey,
Aye.
Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Wilson,
Aye.
Director Huber.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. Item number 6, review and possible action concerning appointment of board officers and committee assignments for 2014.
So we put the usual chart together that indicates the current positions and committee assignments for each board member. The assignments are usually effective from January 1 through December 31st. In recent years, we actually switched from December to the January meeting to appoint the board officers and committee assignments. So our recommendation is to appoint district officers and committee assignments for the coming year.
Okay, well, this is just like any other item. Do we have any comment from the public? No, okay. Any change of heart? Okay. All right, let's go to board discussion.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for an informative evening.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
you're leaving just as it gets interesting.
Really, thanks, Dylan.
All right, good night.
Good night, Walt.
Aye.
What's your pleasure?
Well, I have a thought, so let's maybe just get this going. I'm a huge believer of rotation of officers. I don't have the same kind of preferences to whom. So, but maybe the first thing we ought to do is to see who would like to do what. And just go that way. And if we're this group, I want to say a couple things. I think the process this group's had for the last year has been very healthy. At least that's my take on it. And so we should be able, and what I'm hoping will come from this round is that everyone rotate themselves around a bit, and that we all, make sure we do what we want to do, but allow opportunities for all of us to participate in. So that's my request. How that lands, I'm really quite open to. So that's my position on this.
And just so you know, sitting here as president, in this discussion, I'm definitely going last on saying anything. So I'm stepping all the way back. This is let everybody have their say. Don't all fight for the floor at once.
Let me ask a question. What's been the rotation of the president? I know you were preceded Scott. Weren't you before Scott? Or was that Jim?
I've never been president.
I'm board chair. You were board chair this year. Who was board chair the year before?
I think it was Scott.
No, I've done it for 1
It
year.
was me, okay.
Yeah.
With you.
Yeah.
How short my memory.
We've done, what we've tended to do, well, we've done a couple of things. One, we've done a change every year, and then we've also done, keep things the same for a couple of years running, or even 3. First time I was president, I served 3 years, and then didn't serve in president role until, for a number of years until this past year. So that's, our practice has been
All over the map.
it's been all over the map, and I'd say in general, whether we rotate every year or whether we just say, that worked well, let's do it again next year, both have worked out really well, and I'm completely comfortable with any way we want to go on it.
Yeah, when I was president for a number of years running, when we were acquiring the water district, and it made sense to the board at that point in time just to have a level of continuity for interface with our consultants and everyone else. But it also, the board was very fully involved in everything that was going on as well. So I can see that. I have been working on some projects as treasurer, and we haven't gotten them quite finished. I would be comfortable staying as treasurer. If somebody else wants to take them over, that's fine too. But I want to see clearer reporting on our monthly statements, and so I've been working with Clemens on that. But that hasn't come along as fast as it could have, because we've had other things we're working on that are, in my mind, take precedence over, because books are clear. It's just a matter of making them more intuitive at a quick glance. And so, because the other projects are of a more critical nature.
I mean, one possibility, I'm going back to my school board days. Your good buddy Ken Jones, you remember, was on the board chair for many years. And then we went into a rotation every year. And I have to say, I think the rotation, and actually I could live with every 2-year rotation. I don't have strong feelings about that. My fear is that we get so comfortable that we don't stimulate ourselves with. So I would be okay with 2, but I think we should have a commitment after 2. We really do a rotation of assignments, because what it does, it allows everyone's opportunity to be in different roles, and I also think it serves the district in the whole issue of redundancy and all the things that go with shared opportunities. So if this group is willing to look at a really, so I give it a year to complete the projects, which makes perfect sense. With the idea that when we have the election next year, we really look at ourselves as to who should do what, and perhaps even vet that a little bit before, 2 minutes before the discussion comes up. And I would be happy to recommend that for going forward as well. So that's where I'm at.
So, if I understand, Dwight, you're saying that pretty much all the positions for the president pro tem, secretary pro tem, treasurer, that all stays the same for this year. You'd be comfortable with that?
I would be, and I think what I would recommend in the future as we start discussing about these, even though it's January when we have the ultimate decision, I think we should start discussing these roles before January, because we don't have any other capacities at the meeting. And that allows us to
We'd have to agendize it, but that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, agendize it, and in preparation for the election, so everyone can kind of talk about their interests and what their goals are and all that, which then gives us all a group of time to think about what is best for the district, obviously, which is the goals. So since we haven't done that this time, and none of us have had time to talk about what we've done except at 9:30, to your point, I'm happy just to roll these over next year with the understanding that the following December, November, however we wish to do it, we really do bring this up and vet this. thoroughness and-
I agree. I think particularly for treasurer, it's very, very important to have a new treasurer every couple of years because things need to be kept, need to be examined, need to be.
Well, and it's also, having watched what Catherine's done and what her predecessors have done, it's probably the most time intensive of the top five, more so than the president. I mean, you spend as much time here at the meetings as I do, and the president spends some time working with Clemens on, especially on preparation of the agendas. But really, Clemens does the heavy lifting on that. And one of the benefits of having been working with him this year, and I really want to take the opportunity to compliment Clemens on being very proactive about getting a whole bunch of ideas together and having a regular conversation with me to make sure that what is brought to the board is well prepared, anticipates the kinds of questions and concerns the board members are going to have, and tees a lot of stuff up for success. And it's like, well, that's not really ready to bring. Let's do one more thing and then bring it to the next time. Things like that. It's been a pleasure, and I would say that it's one of the unique benefits of serving in the president role. But I also know, because of those conversations, that he's been spending time with, especially our newer board members, and you guys have come up to speed very quickly because of that interaction. So one of the joys of working on this board has been we've all been very active in our various pursuits on the board. This is not one where people just show up. This is actually a very engaged board. So I think in that regard, some of what we get, or some of what people are angling for on other boards where you gotta have a certain position, here it's really, if you're willing to put in the time, you can get a lot of the involvement. But well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think that, and I did sort of interrupt, so excuse me for that. I could see that we just leave the board of directors the same, agency representatives the same, standing committees the same, ad hoc committees the same. In other words, make no change whatsoever to any of the committees or positions, with the understanding that we do follow up on that next year and that there will be rotation next year.
That makes sense.
The one concern I've got is that Jim's never been president. Now he's had the distinction of being SAM chair now for
Just 1 year.
just the 1 year. And he's done a fantastic job there. I mean, he really has.
If Jim were president, we'd be out by now.
That is most assuredly true. I just want to be attentive to that, and I don't want to gloss over that. So I'll put that out there.
Yeah.
But
On that position, I'd be comfortable either way.
Well, and again, I mean, I think the idea of the fall would say, I mean, to your point, I mean, Jim should really have the first say on that position. But again, I think that's where the fall discussion comes in. First of all, Jim can speak for yourself. You may have different opinions about what you want to do.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I've never been president. I'd like, maybe next year we could think about that, sure. If you guys, if I get nominated, maybe.
so just don't screw up this year, right? Just
Pretty tough.
stay friendly. I don't know. Jim's staying friendly for another year. I'd say the odds are pretty good. I'm hearing a lot of consensus, and somebody just said something about how long the meeting's running. But what the consensus I hear is that in the fall we have a discussion in anticipation of next January's vote on this, with the notion that we will make a change and do some rotation.
Yeah, I have one question, and the issue, so the answer is yes, was just one question, and that is the SAM board.
Mm-hmm.
And Scott, this is really to you, and I've been kind of watching your job responsibilities. And and this is an open question, and I think you need to answer that, and that is this something that you feel you can do, or should we open up that one position with someone with less time restrictions that you have? I'm really asking from a time standpoint.
Yeah. No, I've given that some thought, and I appreciate you asking that. I think for the moment, it's fine. It is something I'm attentive to, and if that changes, then I want to make sure that the person doing it can have sufficient time to do it. But for the moment, I think we're fine.
Well, particularly with the recycled water project coming up and potentially 2 new Half Moon Bay board members at SAM. Scott ran essentially all the data collection and a lot of the direction on the recycled water project in the past. And I think.
Yeah, and again, I'm not arguing that it shouldn't.
No,
I'm
I'm very appreciative that you're attentive to that, because I like knowing that I've got backup in case I need to step back. And there were a couple of months last year where I was thinking hard about that, but things have kind of leveled out.
You know, this is going to be a watershed year at SAM next year.
No pun intended.
Because we have to face the CIP replacing, we have to look at replacing generators, pumps. We have to get back to business, and you know, there's a lot of critical things that we have to look at to keep the district going, and the intertie system.
It's a little scary.
And so we have to, you know, the board has done well together the last couple of years.
It's gotten much better.
We've done.
I credit Jim for all of that in his role as chair. The board working really hard on it, but yeah.
But we want to, the real challenges are this year, recycle water and the CIP, begin replacement of the electrical panels and the pumps and the generators that have to begin to replace those, and
that's particularly acute at Portola.
yeah, to all.
Yeah, you're right.
All of them actually. So we have to, I think we'll have a good representatives from Half Moon Bay. I think we'll work well with whoever it is, and we've kind of set precedents for getting things done on the sewer side. And thanks to Newt Engineering participating in SRT, and so we're looking forward to some big improvement. And Rob is doing a great job. He's getting keyed up for these changes.
Yeah. I think he's been here long enough now. He's really starting to get his legs.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it's kind of funny, since not funny, but he had an injury to one of his legs, so it's. But no. Yeah, I think it was a.
Ran a marathon.
Yeah. A recurring theme. All right. Enough of this love fest. We're liking everybody we're working with.
So I have a motion that we approve the officers for 2015 to the same as 2014.
Okay, and does that motion then also extend to having the discussion and at a agendized for a full meeting?
Why don't we do this, Bill? And with the caveat that we will begin discussions of the following year's election we'll agendize it for November.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Right. So is that a second, Bill?
How about the October meeting? You want the November or the one October?
Well, we don't vote to January. I figured 2 months would be enough.
Okay.
In the past, we have done a lot of the appointments in December. What would happen a lot of times is that it simply got pushed off because a board member wasn't present. That's one of the items where we want all board members to be present.
Yeah.
And that's why it
But he
off.
wants to have it's just the discussion, not the
A
vote.
preliminary discussion.
Preliminary discussion can probably happen.
November tends to get loaded up pretty heavy in anticipation of December being possibly no meetings at all.
Yeah.
That would be the only thing. Tell you what, let's just keep an eye on it. If November gets gets too full on the agendas, we can have it earlier. Earlier's not
Why don't
bad.
we just say no later than the November
Okay.
meeting?
Okay.
And that way we have the option for October.
Sounds good.
I don't want to, I think the idea is to have it.
Okay.
Yep, got it.
With that understanding, all in favor?
I,
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Reports, Sewer Authority Midcoast side. There hasn't been a lot going on, but I did hear there were some spills. We'll be getting a report. But from what I understand, these were all largely related to the very intense rain, very brief, very intense rain periods, which if for any of us who've been paying attention to how this thing works, that's when it happens. So not too much of a surprise, but really glad to hear that our facilities have been operating as designed. Let's see. Jim, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No.
All right. Midcoast Community Council meeting?
let me see, Wednesday night at a special meeting in El Granada, the San Mateo County Planning Commission voted 4-1 to approve the Big Wave project. The no vote was by Zoe Kirsten Tucker, who lives there and lives in Moss Beach and is probably more familiar with the impacts than anyone else. From what I have heard at the community level, it will be appealed. I don't know whether it will be appealed to the Board of Supervisors, which costs quite a bit of money, or directly to the Coastal Commission, which is at no cost.
I
So,
think it has to go through the Board of Supervisors first.
No.
There's an appeal provision that if the Coastal Commission allows it to be brought directly to them if there's significant cost to appealing it below.
that's right.
Yeah.
And so that's that one. And then Saturday at the GCSD, I think beginning at 9 a.m., there will be a annual planning event for
So,
a retreat
just a
for the
point
Coast
of
Council.
order. You used an acronym, and I believe it was you who many years ago insisted that we always explain what these acronyms
The
are.
Granada Community Services District
Thank
in
you.
El Granada. Thank you for catching me on that. I appreciate it.
I believe that's the Catherine Slater Carter rule of acronym
That
explanation,
is, because
otherwise known as the. You can't even do it. KSCAR.
Kentucky
yeah,
Fried Chicken.
people get lost in alphabet soup otherwise. So that's what's going on with Mid-Coast Council. The CSDA report, we will be having a meeting in February, and I'm lining up the agenda, but I want to be talking about financial transparency, and in particular, I have invited the Mid-Peninsula Water District, who had a major embezzlement some years ago, to talk about what they have learned about protecting their
That's right.
finances.
Okay. Item 5, CCWD, NCCWD, Coastside County Water District, North Coast County Water District Committee Report.
We did meet, and we're trying to get another meeting with CCWD, but that hasn't happened. It's a bit-
Right, we're in the process of scheduling a meeting with them right now. So hopefully more the next
Yeah.
meeting.
Jim, do you have anything to add?
No, yeah, we think that we have a project we want to pursue and discussions we want to pursue, and we hope to have that meeting. That'd be great.
Attorney's report.
I did appear at the Planning Commission, Coastal County Planning Commission hearing on the Big Wave project last night. General Manager was also there. Also, I'll be attending the CASA Attorneys Committee meeting data next week, next Friday.
Okay. Director's reports.
It was Wednesday night. Nancy Margulis.
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night. Thank you.
Seems like just yesterday.
It seemed like Wednesday night. Tuesday night, Nancy Margulis organized and presented at the Lighthouse a emergency preparedness forum and invited the community and 22 people showed up. And Nancy gave a presentation and gave out handouts. There was a representative from the Red Cross, from the county emergency preparedness, and there was some people who were skilled at making survival techniques, and it was very interesting. And Nancy is going to pursue this with the people that were there and with the community in general, and she wants to disseminate information and have people get together, communities get together, talk about emergency preparedness. And it's all on, a grassroots level, so to speak. I mean, people are going to be doing this themselves, and it was very entertaining. And Bill and I were there, and Gary Warhaftig was there. He talked about the history, talked about the Montara Moss Beach Water Improvement Association, talked about the culmination with buying the district. And how this district has always been together, and there's always the people, Montara and Moss Beach people have always come together to solve some of the water problems, and have always participated. And there's a good community spirit here. So I was really impressed. It was a lot of fun.
It was good that they also talked about CERT training, and it was also good that the director of the county emergency services was there, and you got a chance to sort of see how involved those parties were.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, a good thing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Others?
Well, yeah, we had a press release in the paper for this district. Something that we essentially reunited the district. Some years ago, Pillar Ridge, when we were having our major water shortages under citizens' utilities, put its own wells in and created its own water system. And this district, since we became our own district, has been negotiating with the Pillar Ridge owners to incorporate it back into our system, and that was accomplished officially on January 1. So there was an article and a press release in the Half Moon Bay Review. I'm sure we will have it on our website. But it is an important reunification of the district. It is, from a institutional point of view, not healthy to have a separate district within another district, and so it is healthy. We have some additional wells and some additional flexibility and some additional storage in the system. I think it will all work out well for everyone. One question that a ratepayer raised was she wondered if we were subsidizing the Pillar Ridge, which is a low-income community, and the answer is no, we are not. They are full-fledged equal members in our water district, and will remain that way. So it's a good move for everyone.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was digging through some old papers in my office at home, and to give you some idea, you talk about, I'm a little bit busy. I'm digging through papers. I found the original letter from Lisa in the Pillar Ridge community asking us to investigate the feasibility of taking over their water system.
And what date was that?
It was about 10 years ago. Yeah, I'll bring that in for the archives in case we don't have a copy.
That's good.
It is an idea that residents there brought to us years ago, and the difficulty was, even though Pillar Ridge management was interested in the idea, they wanted a whole lot of money, and Lisa and others were concerned about what the impact would be to the rates on the people who live in the low-cost housing. And where we wound up was we paid $1, and their rates didn't go up, and our community, the rest of the community is not subsidizing it, because we worked really, really hard to find ways to balance out the costs and all of that. So that was it's a fantastic outcome.
But you know, you said that we were not going to subsidize them, but they're part of the district, so they will benefit from protection and from emergency
Right.
situations.
Exactly.
So it'll be great for them, and it's good for our district too.
So let me mention a couple of other things real quickly. We got a very nice letter from Joshua Cosgrove, who's on the North Coast County Water District. We supported him in his bid for the Local Agency Formation Commission's special district regular member election. He was seated for that, and he's just thanking us for his support, or for our support. Looking forward to working with us on that. Let me mention too, we talked about who might be coming to SAM from Half Moon Bay. In Half Moon Bay, the way they do their appointments is a little bit different. The mayor just announces who all the committee members are. I don't think it's quite as abrupt as that. I think there's a lot of discussion. But for the Sewer Authority Mid-Coast side, and this has yet to be received by the City Council, but that'll be on the 20th. That would be Rick Kowalczyk and Deborah Ruddock as the two designated representatives, with the alternate being John Muller.
Good.
Yep. So now we know, and we've worked with all three of them before, so we should be able to work with them very well.
Although, you know, I will say that I'd like to say that Alan Alifano did a great job, and he was very cooperative. He worked well with us. It was a good team, and he'll be missed. He did a good job, and he was very cooperative. So I'll miss Alan Alifano.
He enjoyed it when I brought chocolate. General Manager's report.
Just one thing before you start. I just, this is well beyond what we do here, but the Adult Day Healthcare and the Senior Center, as you know, has moved into one large facility in Main Street. They had their open house today. The reason I bring it up is this is just a beautiful example when everyone cooperates, what can come out of it. If you've been down to that part of Main Street, ADHC, which was in an old building, and the Senior Co-Siders, which was in that city location across from the health center. They've moved. They're now down in that brand new house that has senior housing on the second and third floor. It's turned into a kind of a senior center, for lack of a better term. And there was probably about 14,000 different entities that have to come together to, I'm somewhat exaggerating, but the county, the city, the nonprofits, and so forth and so on. I think the beauty of this, it shows that people really want something and want to work together, that can make really nice things happen.
Yeah.
So, I use that as an example for us, and that's the whole idea of the recycling and some of the other projects we're starting to take on.
Yeah, I've been there. It's a beautiful, beautiful place.
Very good, and lots of integral MOUs and arrangements, and a lot of creativity to get that stuff done.
Good.
So.
General Manager's report.
Thanks for bringing up Pillar Ridge. That was definitely one of the most important things that happened within the past month. I wanted to go back real quick to the rain events in December, one day in particular. We're still awaiting a report from the SAM General Manager that first goes to the SAM board. I'm looking forward to sharing this then with this board. What we saw this day was something very unusual. We are actually very we did a lot of sewer improvement projects that in the past years. I think is it now 7 years in a row, 8 years in a row, that we every year had a sewer improvement project in this district. That was not always the case. It was every 2-3 years. If we're lucky, we got a project in. Now, since 8 years in a row, every year a full sewer improvement project. So as a result, our inflow and infiltration has been very flat. That day, we saw something very unusual, and that was extremely high I&I inflow and infiltration throughout the Montara system. Of course, also through the SAM system. But that was something that I think we learned a lot from. Pippin walked through the rain, popping manhole lids and essentially looking at where are the flows coming. So that allows us to take action and improve the system further and allow for simple improvements like closing manhole lid holes or so that can be very effective. But in essence, you can expect a report together with the SAM report on one of the next meetings.
Great.
Next door at Montara, Moss Beach, the county, Krista, VIQUE or VIGUE, posted that there are loans available for from this or funds available to do repairs from this big rainstorm under the disaster relief program. And when I read it, I kind of went, oh, that's interesting, but there may be parts of our sewer system that may qualify for that. Maybe something you want to look into.
Thanks, I saw the email. We might have to think about if we can find a connection between, we had a start of a motor burn up, but I'm not quite sure if
That's
that's
something we have to pay back, right?
Yeah, no, eventually, but it's at a low interest, and if we have some major stoppage or rerouting that's been noticed in our system that caused a spill, maybe that's something we should be looking at.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Future agendas? No? Hearing no objection, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Yay.